Y'all, it has happened. After all of the speculation, after all of the fake trades, after the years of talking about the Bucks needing to get rid of Khris Middleton for certain subsets of Bucks Nation, it has finally happened. Khris Middleton is no longer a member of the Milwaukee Bucks, and Kyle Kuzma is. Quick little emergency pod, little bonus pod. We got to talk about this, y'all. We got to have a venting session. We got to get through this together. Let's talk about that on the other side of the intro.
You are Locked On Bucks, your daily Milwaukee Bucks podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What it do, y'all? Welcome to Locked On Bucks, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Man, y'all, it's a tough day. February 5th is a day that is going to go down in history here for Bucks fans. A franchise stalwart has been traded. So listen, this is a bonus episode. We're going to do probably about 10, maybe 15 minutes here. We are still going to be having a post-game pod tonight with Frank talking about the Bucks game in Charlotte. And of course, we will continue to talk about the Khris Middleton trade. We also have some really cool content planned with Locked On Wizards to get the Wizards' perspective of what to expect with Kyle Kuzma going forward here on the Milwaukee Bucks. So it's a lot more coming your way. But I felt like it was only right to go live on YouTube, on the Locked On Bucks YouTube page, and talk about this trade because we have just traded somebody who has been a franchise leader, one of the best players in Bucks franchise history. So in case you're unaware, the Milwaukee Bucks have traded Khris Middleton, AJ Johnson, a first-round pick swap in 2028 for Kyle Kuzma, Patrick Baldwin Jr., and a 2025 second-round pick. So I'm going to be going to the comments for this as well, just to get some of your opinions on it. But I'm in shock. Like, we've been hearing the rumblings that the Bucks were going to make a move. We've been hearing the rumblings that Kyle Kuzma was one of those guys. But we've been hearing a lot of names, right? We were hearing Jimmy Butler. We were hearing Bradley Beal. Then we started hearing the Kyle Kuzma talk, and they kept on building. And now we are here. It is not official yet, quote unquote, but it's in the works. It's looking like it's going to happen. So why? That was the very first question that I had when I saw the news. Why? And when you look at the whys, you can look at Khris Middleton's performance so far this season. Double ankle surgery, that's hard to overcome. We have seen, he seemed like he's lost the step. We have seen it. But I still had some hope personally that come playoff time, he'd be able to contribute. And him being that third option role gave me a little bit more confidence in it because we weren't going to need Khris to be the Khris Middleton that he was in 2021 when the Bucks won a championship. We just needed someone to be a connector piece to kind of help out on the edges there. And it's not going to happen. I think the part of it that disappoints me the most in this move is that we never got a chance to see Dame, Giannis, and Khris in the playoffs together healthy. Shoot, we haven't gotten a chance to see Khris and Giannis in the playoffs healthy together since they won that championship. And that's the part of it for me that is disappointing about this experience. But why? Why would you make this move? What do the Bucks benefit from it? The first one, you get under that second apron. And we understand how big of a deal that was for the Bucks to get underneath the second apron. Getting Kyle Kuzma's contract in there, moving off of AJ Johnson, it cuts about $8.5 million off of the Bucks salary to get him under that second apron for this season, which does open up greater flexibility for this team to make additional moves. So now they can aggregate contracts as long as they don't bring in more dollars than what they send out. That was not on the table beforehand, right? So you do have a bit more roster flexibility in how you're able to continue to build out this roster. The Bucks believe with Kyle Kuzma, apparently, they believe with Kyle Kuzma, it can help unlock some Giannis at 5 lineups. They believe in Kuz's defense. They believe in Kuz being able to help the Bucks play even faster going forward. We'll see how that turns out, because if you look at the numbers alone of what Kyle Kuzma has been doing this season, it doesn't inspire much confidence that he's going to be able to come in and excel in that role. You know what I mean? Like, Kyle Kuzma is shooting under 30% from three this season. Under 30% from three this season. He is shooting 28% from three on 5 attempts a game. And you might be like, hey, it's just a bad year, a down year. He had some injuries that he's coming back from. Understood. But he's a career 33% three-point shooter. His best year, 36, 37% three-point shooter. He's going to have to be better than that for the Bucks on this team. But I got so many thoughts, y'all. I got so many thoughts. It's hard to even know where exactly to start with it because Khris Middleton, everydayers know, Khris Middleton's been my favorite Buck for quite some time, and his place in Bucks franchise history is solid. First in threes, third in assists, third in points, fifth in steals, seventh in rebounds, all time a great. It hurts to see him go. And as more time continues to pass, like if I would have did this live pod immediately as the news was breaking, I don't think I would have been able to be as illogical about the whys behind it and what does this do for this team. And I guess the first question that I have for everybody out there is for you to think about this. If the Bucks did not make a move at all this season, what do you think that the ceiling for this team was, assuming health, with Giannis, with Khris, with Dame? What do you think that the ceiling of this team was? I had this question I asked on social media to some of my followers as well. And the common refrain that I got back was about a second round exit. Second round seemed to be the ceiling that most people saw for this team before making any moves. Do you think that that ceiling has drastically decreased now with Kyle Kuzma being on the team? Personally, I don't think the Bucks are as good with Kyle Kuzma as they were, even with this version of Khris Middleton with the 2 ankles that still need some work. But I don't think that this move has also decreased the ceiling for this team this season. I still could see this team getting to the second round, still see this team in that same atmosphere, even if Khris Middleton's not part of the picture. So for this season, like, yeah, they might be a little bit worse, so to speak, but I think that the quote unquote ceiling for this team is still around the same because so much of it depended on Giannis and Dame being who they are, getting there healthy, being able to perform. So in that sense of it, like that helps this be a little bit of an easier pill to swallow. But man, sending Khris to the Wizards, the worst team in the league. I mean, I know you can't help that, but it is what it is. So I do want to talk a little bit more about how Kuz might fit and the ways they might use him, and also just send some salutes and some flowers to Khris Middleton. So let's take a quick break real quick and then come back and talk a little bit more about how Kuz can fit, what that does for the ceiling of this team, and if this means that maybe some other moves are going to be made for this team right after this. Game time. That's the place you need to go if you're looking for tickets for your next big event, whether it's a concert, a comedy show, sports game. Maybe you're in the DC area and you want to see Malcolm Brogdon and Khris Middleton on the court at the same time for some Bucks nostalgia. Game Time will help you get those tickets. It's never been easier, and I'll tell you how it works. So with Game Time Picks, the app does all the hard work for you. It curates the best deals so you don't have to waste time searching through endless ticket listings. I use Game Time personally when I was in Phoenix for the WNBA All-Star game. Grabbed my tickets, loved being able to see where I was going to sit, loved knowing the full price of the tickets before I purchased them as well. And the best part of it, you're covered with Game Time's lowest price guarantee. So if you find a better deal somewhere else, they will refund you 110% of the difference. Plus, your tickets are guaranteed to be delivered on time with easy cancellation options if something comes up. And as we've seen with this NBA trade deadline, things come up. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off of your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem the code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. The show is also brought to you by BetterHelp, sponsored by BetterHelp. What are some of the relationship green flags? You so often hear about red flags you should avoid, but what if we focus more on identifying the positive signs in our relationship? The green flags. If you're not sure what they look like, therapy can help you identify them, actively practice them, and even embody that green flag energy yourself. Whether you're dating, you're married, you're building a friendship, working on yourself, therapy can help you form relationships that truly do love you back. Therapy can help you develop healthy boundaries and improve your communication. And BetterHelp makes it easy by offering online therapy with over 30,000 licensed therapists to choose from. And if you need to switch therapists too, you can do that at no extra cost. So discover your green flag relationships with BetterHelp. Visit betterhelp.com/lockedonnba today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/lockedonnba. Man, that was a hard ad read to do. I have to say this thinking about how this trade season has been going for the Bucks. We were hearing so much at first, about Jimmy Butler possibly being traded to the Bucks. Then we started hearing Bradley Beal's name thrown around as somebody who might be traded to the Bucks. And honestly, the Bradley Beal conversation, I had never seen the fan base more united in a move that they did not want to happen when Bradley Beal's name was thrown out there. And it made me think like, hey, maybe the Bucks are leaking this information so that when they actually make the move that they do make, it don't feel as bad. Like getting Kyle Kuzma after hearing that Bradley Beal was an option, so on and so forth, you might feel a little bit more encouraged by that. But with Bradley Beal coming to town, Lord, with Kyle Kuzma coming to town, one thing that I am glad about, and I see Samuel in the comments mention this, the comments are coming quick, y'all. I'm trying to keep up with y'all, but he said, I'm glad we didn't give up our 2031 pick, and I could not agree more with that piece of it. I am so glad that the Bucks did not have to give up that draft compensation in order to facilitate this trade. But what they did have to give up on the way is AJ Johnson, our first round draft pick from this year. So really throwing AJ Johnson into this trade, in my book, is like adding an additional first round pick into the trade calculations. AJ Johnson was somebody who came into the league, was like, who needed the development. You saw him getting his reps down on the G League with the Herd. He was somebody who wasn't expected, to come and contribute this year, but he was somebody who the Bucks had high hopes in his development and being able to contribute in the years coming. So he's now out the door along with Khris Middleton. One of the things that I said that my main goal for the trade deadline for the Bucks would be for them to get under that second apron and for them to be able to clear off a roster spot in order for them to be able to take Ryan Rollins' contract from a two-way contract to a standard contract, right? And with this trade of them bringing back Kuzma and Baldwin while sending out Khris and AJ Johnson, they did not clear the roster spot for that to happen. But again, they were able to open up the flexibility to aggregate contracts. So my initial thoughts on this move, if this is the only move that the Bucks make at the trade deadline, I will be disappointed that this is the only move. I don't think that it changed necessarily what the ceiling of this team could be, even though I think that they are worse. I think that they still have a shot as long as they have a healthy Dame and a healthy Giannis. But there has to be something else. I feel like I would need to see them find a way to be able to translate Rollins' contract over to a full-time one. And on top of that too, here's a question I have for y'all and I want you to think about. One thing that we have heard Giannis say about this Milwaukee Bucks team and his time being here is that he wants to be here as long as they show that they are serious about contributing or being able to go after a championship. We need to be competitive. I need to know that this franchise cares as much about chasing these championships as I do. That's what we've heard from Giannis consistently. Does this move do that? In a vacuum? I don't think so, but I do think that it opens avenues for them to continue to do that. We have talked about how the CBA is so restrictive to what the Bucks can do in any other team that is over that second apron. If you stay in that second apron for too long, then you talk about getting some draft picks frozen in the future. And that's hard to deal with, but it's like your window is now. How much better did the Bucks get? We're going to see. I still think that this Bucks team needs another big. Maybe Kyle Kuzma can do that. And I think that's one of the hopes of Kyle Kuzma, being able to unlock those Giannis at 5 lineups, because in the small sample sizes that we have seen with Giannis being the small ball 5 for this team, the rebounding has suffered. Theoretically, Kyle Kuzma should be able to come in there and help clean that up in those small ball lineups. Kyle Kuzma should work in those lineups. Kyle Kuzma has shown when he was a role player on that Laker team, those Laker teams, and the Laker team that won championship, that he is someone who can do the dirty work, that he is somebody who can cut, get you some boards, play some defense. Maybe that's what the Bucks need. We're going to see. Time will tell. Time will tell how this move works, but like I can kind of understand it. I don't necessarily like it in this moment, but I can somewhat understand the why behind it, right? Especially if you're looking at the health of Khris Middleton and you're having some concerns about if he's going to be able to be available come playoff time. It just hurts. It just hurts to see somebody who has given so much to the franchise, who helped this team win a championship, traded, especially to Washington. No offense, Washington, but y'all know. Y'all know what race y'all in this year, and it is not for the playoffs, ain't even for the play-in. It is for that draft positioning next year. So it does hurt to see, Khris being traded to a Washington Wizards team that doesn't have really any aspirations this season of going anywhere. Cool to see Middleton and Brogdon reunited. But again, in a vacuum, I feel like there needs to be a little bit more for this team. But it's weird because it's like, I don't think the ceiling necessarily changed. Like, this could work. And John Horst is counting on it working. I do hope that, Giannis has to buy into it. I hope that Giannis understands the future of what they're trying to accomplish here. And I still think they need a big. We'll see if Kuz can provide some of that small ball big role of it. But we'll see if this is the only move that the Bucks made. I'd be shocked if this was the only move that the Bucks made at the deadline. But I've already gone a little bit longer than I intended to here on this one because it's just my thoughts are still all over the place with this move. Again, y'all know how I feel about Khris Middleton. And being a GM is difficult. Sometimes you have to make moves that hurt in the short term that benefit you in the long term. I hope that this is a move that continues to benefit the Bucks going forward. Now, as I mentioned, we will be having a post-game episode of Locked On Bucks tonight. I'm going to be going through all of these comments after this live stream as well, kind of just getting some of your thoughts together ahead of that post-game episode. We will be doing an episode with Frank tonight, talking about the game against Charlotte, and of course, talking more about this trade, because how can you not? How can you not? And tomorrow, there'll be some more content coming with Brandon Scott from Locked On Wizards to give us a better perspective of what to expect from Kyle Kuzma in this role. So let us know in the comments how you're feeling, your initial thoughts of this feeling. I'm even curious to know if your initial reaction to this trade has changed in the hours since you've been able to. One last comment I see popping up here, because as I mentioned, they're coming really quick. Max said such a horizontal move. It's so strange. Yeah, but again, it depends on where you already thought the ceiling for this team was with Middleton. We're going to see. We're going to see. But there's going to be a lot more content coming. I just had to get on here real quick, do a live, kind of talk through this a little bit before, because it didn't feel right to wait until tomorrow to address this. So again, we'll be back with a lot more content covering this trade, covering the Hornets game, and talking with Locked On Wizards to get a more detailed look on this whole situation and what to expect from Kuz here in Milwaukee. So make sure y'all stay locked in on Locked On Bucks. Let me know how you're feeling in the comments, and we will be back with more content for you very, very soon. The Bucks did it, y'all. They really traded Khris Middleton. And there is so much more to say about it.